Rabbit. She describes herself as a deeply committed community-based artist who continues to explore the universal in the regional landscape. Please join me in welcoming Denise Chavez.
Deeply moved I am by this. It's supposed to be girl. I'm so honored to have a sign interpreter. She already explained to me what Chi-Chi's was. It's right leg. Get ready because it's going to be wild tonight. I'm very happy to be here. I'd like to thank Dean Kinsey and of course Lori Drummond, my hosts. St. Edward's College, and I'm glad to see so many friends here. Margie Huerta, formerly of Las Cruces, Mrs. Gaines from Las Cruces, two girlfriends from high school. I did go to a Catholic high school, Madonna High School. There were only 12 of us, and we referred to ourselves as the Apostolettes. 3 of us are here tonight. It's great to see you. Of course, I'd like to introduce, I don't know where he's sitting, Roberto Gil, tremendous writer, dear friend. I don't know, he's hiding now, but he's out there someplace, I'm not sure. And of course, my husband, Daniel Zelinsky, who's someplace else. Thank you for your welcome. And I'd like to begin with a few poems from my home place. As you know, I was born in Las Cruces, which is 42 miles from the Mexican border, Ciudad Juarez, and I would like to begin in this month of November with a tribute to the antepasados, the ancestors, because without them I certainly would not be here. None of us would be here. Dia de los Muertos, of course, November 2nd, and so I begin with this tribute for my own parents. Diego Rivera used to use the image of a watermelon in many of his murals and paintings, and to him that was a symbol of life. Living so close to the border, I have eaten a lot of sandías, but also a lot of mangos. I think I am the person that has smuggled the most mangos from Juarez to Las Cruces under my car seat, and they never ask me, do you have anything? No, I have mangos though. I would like to me, the symbol of life is probably a mango, and I'd like to give this tribute to my parents. This concerns a trip that I made to Juarez to buy mangoes, to eat lunch with my parents, and it's called Mercado Day, which means market day. There's a little Spanish in here, but I always think of the Spanish as the chile on the side of the beans, or the, you know, it kind of gives a little spice to everything, and I hope that I undulate back and forth with language. This is a tribute to my parents, con mi cariño. Mercado Day, Mango Day, Asadero Day, Blood Sausage Day. We sit in cars, doors opened, hanging out of seats, peeling skin of mango fruit, joyous, without words, eating. Mother in front, my father in back, and me at the wheel. We just finished our lunch. Asadero, blood sausage, avocados. ¿Cuáles están listas? Tortillas de maíz, las de veras. Shivering, dripping hands lift orange Fanta, Sprites, and ice-cold Cokes from the dispenser in the center aisle. Paid mariachi serenadas with Guadalajara, Guadalajara, tierra quemada. As the shoe-shine boys with their shining wooden boxes perch on the stairway watching us eat. Wet, sticky hands cannot wipe away last traces of this holy meal. The parking lot, receptacle of our remains. I drive to Juarez, confident, safe. I understand the way Mexicanos drive. They drive like me. I am not afraid. It is when I leave that the terror begins. Mercado Day, Mango Day, Asadero Day. I recall that feast later in the rain. My mother is dead and my father will never drive again. I step on the gas. I am not afraid. I understand the way Mexicanos drive. They drive like me, singing Guadalajara, Guadalajara, tierra quemada. Aguacates, queso fresco, dulces de camote. My mother's favorites, los míos de biznaga. Por favor, señorita, algo para la pandita. Hey, lady, wanna buy? I got a sister. Después, later I say, later. Mercado Day, Mango Day, Asadero Day. I recalled that feast later in the rain. Thank you. Don't feel that you have to clap. Wait until afterwards, it'll go better. I'd like to read a poem in Spanish for those of you that love and speak Spanish. For the rest of you, it's an undulating rhythm that you want to listen for. In Spanish, we have a wonderful word for those death markers, those road markers on the side of the road where people have died. And so many people have died violently on the side of the road. We call them descansos, which means a resting place. The original descanso was, for example, if you were carrying a coffin and you would stop to rest at different places along the route, maybe 2 or 3 places, there would be a mound of rocks and people would stop, and it would be a resting place. Currently, a descanso is those road markers that you may not even know the person who died at that spot, but we begin to think almost like a prayer when we run across those crucifixes, or sometimes I've seen bumpers of cars, I've seen baby dolls, I've seen all sorts of memorials. This is a tribute in honor of this month to my cousin, Denise Chavez, who came back from Vietnam, a heroin addict, and he didn't die on the side of the road, but his death to me is a metaphor for those violent deaths. And there's a wonderful word in Spanish too. This is a brief introduction. Ya, that means stop it, enough, basta, se acabó, that's it. My mother was a very strong personality, a teacher for 42 years, and I say she had the varicose veins to prove it. She came from West Texas, a settler family. You know that program, Rawhide? Well, she was married to one of the descendants of Gil Favor, and it's a true story. My mother's husband, her first husband, was accidentally poisoned when she had just given birth to my older sister, and my older sister was 3 days old. But she was a tough rooster of a woman, a strong, wonderful character, and later on I'll read a poem about her. But this poem has to do with those death markers and that word, ya. I would try to cross my mother, and she would just put up that hand or just look at me with her eagle bird eye and say, yeah. Yeah, that means stop it, girl, don't even think of going anywhere. So I'd like to dedicate this to my cousin, of course, and all those people that die on the side of the road. And remember, when you keep hearing this word, yeah, that means stop it, stop it, stop those deaths, stop those accidents. Yeah. Y así como me acuerdo de Charlie, becas, Freckles, we called him. He liked to drink and to smoke and do drugs. It started in Vietnam y nunca se compuso. Ya el mundo no es lo que ha sido, me dice una comadre, tía de una vecina. Ya no es tan bueno vivir en los Estados Unidos. Austin, it's a jungle. Las flores encarnadas al lado del camino son las vidas de nuestros jóvenes. Ya, isn't it time for all of this unnecessary death to stop? Ay, que se ha muerto el Charlie, mi ahijado, pues yo, comadre, yo ya no tengo mis esperanzas. Él tenía sus problemitas, but comadre, who doesn't have their problems, eh? Pobrecito mijito. Ya era tiempo. I remember him telling me, comadre, madrina, ¿para qué vivir? Why should I go on living? Estoy cansado. I am very tired. Ya se ve que él estaba en eso, into all of those drugs. It started in Vietnam y nunca se compuso. Ya que era tiempo, comadre. It was time. It could not be helped. Ya que era tiempo. Ay, mire, comadre, a la vuelta está su descanso. Look, there's his death marker. Ay, comadre. Que descanse en paz en el nombre del Padre, del Hijo, del Espíritu Santo. Ya, que era tiempo. I want to take you now to a very different world, the world of my novel, Face of an Angel. And I'd like to introduce you to some characters as well. This is a novel about a career waitress in a Mexican restaurant. She has been working in the restaurant for 30 years. You're doing a great job. Beautiful to see. She has been working there for 30 years. She started off as a bus girl, and now she's the head waitress. Sobeda Dos Amantes is her name. Dos Amantes means two lovers, and it seems like everybody in the book is in love with someone else, or has loved someone else, or whatever. So the idea of Dos Amantes is a very integral part of the book. But I'd like to introduce you to various characters. I'm going to introduce you, first of all, to Eloisa la Famosa, the cook. She cooks on the weekends, and I just probably will introduce you to various characters as we go along. I like to read this section because, to me, I've worked as a waitress for 5 years in various Mexican restaurants and steak restaurants. I worked as a waitress in Dallas at a Steak and Ale. And I worked at La Fonda in Santa Fe. I worked, slung hash here and there and everywhere else. But I found that there's so many wonderful people that you meet in that sort of environment. There was a woman that I worked with at La Fonda, Nellie. She was a shaman, a therapist, a counselor. People would come in, they loved to talk to her. And in her honor, I'd like to read Eloisa Ortiz, as she's known, La Famosa. And this particular chapter, it's called Sobeda's Will. The manager has decided that Larry Laracuente has decided that he wants everybody in the restaurant to make a will, because he's seen something about wills on TV. So everybody in the restaurant gets paid $50 extra if they give him their will. And he locks it in his safe in his office just to make sure that everybody has the will. Combination TACOS. In this part of the chapter, Eloisa has gone on her anniversary to Ciudad Juarez, which is of course very close to Las Cruces. But remember that this is set in Agua Oscura, Darkwater, New Mexico, which is close to Las Cruces. Eloisa has gone to a place called La Ostra Azul, which means the blue oyster, and Juarez to eat for her anniversary. She got very sick and she couldn't come in. So Pito Portales, the dishwasher, has taken her place that day, and this is the story of how Pito became a cook. Yes, it was true that Pito had risen up in the ranks, starting off that day 20 years ago, when Gambo Serenata, the cook, had gotten drunk, and La Famosa, as Eloisa was called, could not come in due to a bad case of diarrhea. There's no way I could have come in on such short notice, Senora Consuelo. I might have could have had her, but I could have come in no ways. Last night, my honey Ben, he took me to La Ostra Azul in Juarez, a new restaurant. I think they should change the name of it to the Sea Oyster. If you ask me, like I told you, I might have could have had her come in, but now I have no ways. Senora Consuelo, I can cook, said Pito Portales, the day dishwasher. He offered himself a lamb to slaughter with his calm announcement. I can cook. The day of Eloisa's diarrhea and Gambo's collapse, even we waitresses had to wash dishes. Larry, the manager, was forced to put his unhappy brown hands into the soapy dishwater. Eloisa returned later that day, or the next day rather, promptly at 10 a.m., made up with her usual iridescent blue eyeshadow. Her wide brown eyes were rimmed in black eyeliner, making her look like a benevolent panda. They stared out cheerfully from beneath fiercely painted, slightly elevated eyebrows that winged back toward her temples. So how's it going? Eloisa looked crisp, clean in a fresh-pressed white peasant blouse, a long red skirt, and a purple sash, tied someplace around the place her waist should be. I asked her, how you feeling, Eloisa? Oh, me, Soledad, fit as a guitarra. Oh, you mean yesterday? Yesterday I was sick. So what's new? I heard about Pito taking over for me. And this was the beginning of Pito's apprenticeship at the hands of Eloisa la Famosa. Only there wasn't too much that he could learn from her. He was from southern New Mexico. He was a southerner and Eloisa was a northerner. He didn't know the dried corn, a chico, from a moco. Pozole, hominy, from pozonale. But in the area of northern New Mexico cooking, there was a certain amount to be learned. Pito Leal was going to learn it too. You know what? The fact of the matter was, and Eloisa, it hurt her to admit this, what she respected in Pito was that he had the grace never to let her know that he knew that his rice was better than hers. Eloisa moved to nights and Pito days. Business was growing, and El Farol needed 2 cooks. And this was the day that Pito Leal became the cook. I'd like to introduce you a few more characters from the restaurant. This is a chapter from the Book of Service called Meditations on Hair. You can learn a lot about a person by how they think of their own hair. And if you interview people about their hair, you will learn a lot of things. And so Bela Los Amantes has decided that she's going to go around and ask you, what do you think of your hair? Pretty cool, huh? And she goes around asking people in the restaurant. I'm going to read a quotation from someone, and then I'll tell you who says it. This is Meditations on Hair.